I'm Emily. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on my channel. I'm a senior recruiter by day, career coach by night, and then podcast host on the weekends. And today we are talking about one of my favorite things in the world. Myself, baby. I'm kidding, not really myself, but we're going to be talking about how to become a recruiter. I get so many people in my DMs on Instagram as well as messages on TikTok asking about how they can start their careers in recruitment, in talent, and what skills they need to build in order to be successful. But please, if you can take 2 seconds, hit that like button, subscribe if you aren't, and leave me a comment. Even if you have nothing to say, just send me an emoji, tell me what the weather's like where you are. It seriously helps so much and really helps to share this channel and hopefully help out job seekers who are Googling and looking for support online. I'm going to spend 2 seconds talking about my career journey so you can understand who I am. I've got a full video on this above. Yes, I know I'm holding my mic for whatever reason. It's like a comfort thing. I have a mic stand, but whatever. So I've been a recruiter for almost 7 years. I can't even say that out loud. It makes me feel old. For context, I am 26. So I started in the recruitment space for quite some time. I studied human resources at York University, which is a great university in Toronto. I'm very happy that I chose that school. They're one of the few schools in Canada that had a specific degree for human resources. When I graduated, I had zero intention of getting into recruiting. In fact, I thought I was going to end up in compensation and analytics. And frankly, I'm very happy that I didn't. I think I would have hated it. So I started my career at the Bank of Montreal, which is a large bank in Canada. And I started off with an internship in their learning and development team. And although I loved it and the people were fantastic, ultimately it wasn't really what I was looking for. I knew that I really enjoyed the people, I liked the work, but something about the learning and development space just wasn't for me. So I was networking a little bit, actually networking quite a lot throughout the bank during that internship. And I met with a wonderful woman who was leading the campus recruitment team. So she and I were speaking. She mentioned that there was a contract role being posted for a coordinator for their campus recruitment team. And it sounded so interesting to me. I was all in. So I started working there, although I wasn't done school. So I finished my degree part-time virtually while I was working full-time at BMO in this coordinator role. I won't bore you with the rest of the details, but I kind of grew from there from a coordinator to a specialist and then moved up into ultimately being a campus recruiter. And this is where I fell in love. I fell in love with campus recruiting. Campus recruiting, and we'll get into this in a second, is essentially the intersection of recruiting, events, and marketing with a pretty intense focus on students and early career talent. I absolutely loved it. So after a little while at the Bank of Montreal, I started connecting with a woman who was leading the campus recruitment team at Intuit, which is where I currently work. So you know how this story is going to end. I fell in love with her team. I thought they were fantastic people. I still think they're fantastic people. The work was exciting, and I was asked to build our student recruitment program in Canada because at the time it was really small, wasn't scalable, and we didn't have a huge on-campus or brand presence. So I got brought in to build that out, scale it up, and ultimately brought the number of hires from like 10 a year to 80 a year. It was a huge accomplishment. I was so proud of my work there. I was in that role for just over a year, and then another position had opened up internally, and I was smitten. I really wanted this job. It was also for a senior recruiter position. That position I was in was also a senior recruiter, but it was on the professional recruitment side, which is essentially where you're recruiting for full-time permanent roles instead of student roles. So I was really interested in moving into the kind of professional recruitment space, and the team there was also fantastic. So it was a no-brainer. I applied, interviewed, and was super grateful to move into this role. So what do I do right now? Well, right now my title is Senior Recruiter, and I focus on end-to-end recruitment and talent strategy for a couple of core areas. Although I recruit for a lot of different things, most of my work focuses on sales recruiting, technology, and then like a little bit of marketing and finance thrown in there too. So what does a day in the life of a recruiter look like? Well, it depends because it's different at every company. I would probably say 20 to 30% of my work week is building strategy and connecting with my hiring managers. So understanding what are the gaps on their team? How can talent or recruiting support them in scaling their team or in helping their team achieve their targets or goals? It's very strategic. I do not see recruitment as like an execution role. I don't see recruitment as an administrative role. It really is about being a strategic talent talent part. So I'm really lucky that I get to spend a chunk of my week on what we would call recruitment marketing or talent marketing. So playing around with things like TikTok or Instagram to get the word out about awesome roles we're recruiting for. And the rest of my time is spent on events as well as true recruiting. Academic perspective, there really isn't one specific degree that's going to guarantee you a job. Obviously, having a degree in human resources can be a huge benefit because you'll get kind of a line of sight into the different partners you'll work with, for example, compensation or employment law. But I've worked with amazing, like actually outstanding recruiters who had degrees in like everything. I've worked with people who came from business backgrounds, from history backgrounds, from law, from politics. So basically, if you are in the middle of a degree that has nothing to do with recruiting and you've realized you want to be a recruiter, don't change your degree. I promise it's going to be fine. Like any other industry, the best way to crack into it is by networking. There's nothing wrong with you reaching out to current recruiters on LinkedIn and asking for career chats to learn a little bit more about life at their company, the skills they've learned, and really building those relationships so that eventually you get referred for jobs by them. So number one tip, network, get your resume ready. If you need tips on how to build a network and how to crack into an industry, check out these videos. I'm more so going to focus on the skills you need to be a recruiter. To be a recruiter, there are really three main areas that most people have their career focused on, but a lot of people hop in between these throughout the course of their journey. So there's agency recruiting, which basically means you work for a recruitment agency. Your agency is hired by large companies or firms, and you hire people on behalf of that company. So that company is your client, you're finding candidates for them, you share the candidates with them, and typically you get some kind of a commission or bonus when you're able to place those candidates. The pros of this, it's awesome to learn a lot really quick. You'll work on a whole bunch of different roles, you'll get exposure to a bunch of different industries, but it's a pressure cooker. And it almost has a sales-like environment in the sense that it's very high pressure with your KPIs, with your metrics, and it's often very, very quick paced. Campus recruiting, like I mentioned, is student-based recruiting, so recruiting for co-ops or internships. And this kind of recruiting is much more cyclical, so you have busy seasons because you're recruiting for like summer internships or fall co-ops, but it also has a much more intense focus on events and the branding. So it's a great spot if you love the marketing side too. Professional recruiting is looking for full-time roles. So for example, when I'm recruiting recruiters, I'm a professional recruiter. Wow, that was a hard one to spit out, but you know what I'm talking about. So if you've decided you want to be a recruiter, in my opinion, here's what you've got to do. You have to update your resume to indicate that. You need to start building out a network so that you gain referrals, and you need to understand what career path or what area is best for you. In addition to that, I want you to understand a little bit about what entry-level roles might look like. In a lot of companies, recruitment coordinator roles can sometimes be entry-level, but in many others, there are senior recruitment coordinators who are very, very experienced and are experts in their craft. So looking for coordinator roles or specialist roles is an amazing place to start. You can also look for junior recruiter roles, junior recruitment support roles. Anything that's kind of on that entry-level spectrum is an amazing place for you to dip your toes in the recruitment space and double check that you love it as much as you think you do. Ultimately, I love my career as a recruiter. I have a lot of fun with what I do. I love that I get to work on strategy. I love that I make a real impact in the lives of the candidates that I get to meet and that I get to hire. It's a very, very rewarding, although very exhausting career choice. One thing I want to call out as well is your career is really limitless. When you're in recruiting, you'll have so much exposure to different businesses. For example, I work directly with engineers and product managers and with sales folks. And I'm sure if one day I woke up and said, wow, I really wanted to get into sales, I'd have the network to help me get there. So it's an amazing career for you to think about long-term in terms of building your network and building those relationships, even in industries outside of your own. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions about your personal journey in becoming a recruiter, please don't be shy. Hit me up in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a like, and happy recruiting, my friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with me.